Let's all give a big hand for Congressman Steve Knight. And come on up.
Well, good evening. Thank you, Alan. Thank you for allowing us to come and participate and speak about the issues, speak about what's happening in our great country and our great district. So I'll just give you a little bit of who I am and my, as we say in the police department, our 2 minutes, 2 seconds, but I guess I get 3 minutes, so I'll take them all. I am married for 28 years to a beautiful woman who's a NICU nurse up in the Yellow Valley. And I have 2 boys. One just graduated from Sacramento State, and one's going to Arizona State. So all of you that are thinking, yes, I have 8 straight years of college tuition that I have to pay for. We thought it was a great idea when we started, but now it's not working out so well. So I have a great family. We're very proud of what our boys do, and of course I'm proud of what my wife does on a daily basis. When I ran for city council in Palmdale, it was just to help out my hometown. It actually was. I watched my father when I was a senior in high school, and he was up on the dais as a council member, and a lady comes up and she says, you know, I've been trying to fix my sidewalk for the last 6 weeks. And he said, well, have you called the city? And she said, yes, I've called every week for the last 6 weeks. My father looked over at the city manager and said, Bob, fix her sidewalk tomorrow. And the city manager said, okay. And it was over. And I thought, that was about the coolest thing I've ever seen. He fixed something that she couldn't get done on her own through the bureaucracy. And that's not the way it should happen. But they took care of this problem that was dire to this lady. And I thought that is something that we should strive to do. We should strive to help other people. And if I can do that, okay. So I got my opportunity to run for city council, and I did just that. I listened. I got talked to in the grocery stores, or when I'm mowing my lawn, or I found out when you're a city council member, you are fair game. But it was great. I loved being on the city council. I ran for the assembly when that opportunity was there, and I gave up my profession. I was a Los Angeles police officer. I gave up my profession 21 months before I would have gotten a pension. So if anyone will ever question my desire to do what I do, or the passion for what I do, I gave up a pretty doggone good pension 21 months before I would have been vested. So I went into the assembly and worked just the same. Let's work on the issues of the district. Went on to the Senate, did the same. When the congressional seat was open, I thought, this is quite a bit different. This is maybe out of my bandwidth. I'll be honest with you. It's a huge, huge endeavor, and it brings in a lot of people that are not local people. They're from Maine, they're from Wyoming, and it's tough to go in and talk about things that are happening in Wyoming. First, I don't know what happens in Wyoming, and now I got to work with all these folks. So my wife and I talked about it, and we decided, you know what, you can help this district, and that's exactly what we decided to do. And it's always a team effort. When you hear me answer a question, it'll always be about we, or what we've done, or our team, and that is the way I talk, because I believe that firmly. So as your congressman, I've worked on the issues of the district, and I think that we've done an awful lot to advance some of the issues, get some of them cured, and continue to work on them. But just in my last no seconds, I'll say that my goal is to work with everyone. I might not agree with everyone, and they might not agree with me every time. But that doesn't mean we don't talk to everyone. That doesn't mean we don't talk and work on subjects. And we might get to a different answer, but I don't look at people any other way than these are my neighbors. So, thank you.
Now, questions. Do we have some questions for Congressman Knight? Well, come on up.
Just going to say no questions. I did so well. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, Congressman. Sandra Cattell, and representing the Sierra Club. What can you do as my representative to support the 97% of scientists that say global warming is real, mostly caused by human actions, and can be ameliorated by human action?
So we've talked about this. I sit on science, space, and technology, and this is something that comes in front of us almost on a daily basis, whether through different bureaucracies that are coming or just scientists that are coming and talking to us. And I do believe that there is something that we can do about this climate change. I think that we are in a cycle. I think that is part of what it is, but I cannot stand up here and say that the pollution that we put into the air doesn't have some effect on what we breathe and how we go about our daily lives. Now, the first thing, when we're dealing with other countries and other countries are not going to do the same thing we're going to do, then I have to wonder, are we going to put ourselves at a disadvantage with businesses that are international businesses going across country lines, and I have to worry about that. So if we're going to do it, I want other countries to do that. That's the first thing. The second thing is if our business community is going to be affected adversely, then we have to weigh, is that going to be an okay thing to get what we're getting, or is it not going to be an okay thing? We're going to lose way too many jobs, and our economy is going to be hurt way too much. So these are the big questions that are talked about. It's not just we have pollution in the air, let's just fix it. But I can say that the biggest part is if China and India and Russia and many other countries don't want to do anything or are not mandated to do anything, especially here on the West Coast, where we get an awful lot of pollution that comes across the ocean, that's a problem for us. It's the same thing as when I was in the state legislature and we were doing things on diesel trucks, but Nevada wasn't doing anything, New Mexico wasn't doing anything, and Arizona wasn't doing anything. So our trucks were at a severe disadvantage. So again, as I started off, I do think that what we are doing is putting pollutants in the air. There is things that we can help and we can change, but I absolutely want to make sure that we're not doing it at a disadvantage to our country. Thank you.
Hi, Steve. My name is Ray Henry. I live in Canyon Country. I've got one simple question that is actually going to be part of perhaps 3 answers. Number 1, thank you for giving me this opportunity. Number 2, are you aware that we've been poisoned from the sky? Within the last couple of years, it's actually increasing tremendously. Number 3, do you know what's been sprayed in our city? And final, number 4, do you know how long is it going to be before they stop? And what are they spraying on in our city?
Okay, all great questions. You're going to have to help me. You are. Because there's a lot of things that are sprayed into the air that I'm not sure we're talking about the same thing. So help me out a little bit.
I've been watching our skies, and we've got one of the most beautiful skies there is. Granted, there's any cities out there that people will claim that they have beautiful skies. But I'm sure that I'm not the only one who've noticed that our skies are getting physically bombarded with jet streams, and streams that go on for hours and hours and hours before they dissipate, where some people might claim that that is just a typical jet that goes out there, that goes from here to New York or from New York to whatever it happened to be.
Okay, so contrails? Okay.
On a normal basis, that will dissipate within less than 2-3 minutes.
Okay.
I just need to know, do you know? Obviously.
Okay. Well, I'm very aware of contrails. Yes, I'm very aware of jets going over. I'm very aware of the line of airplanes that go into LAX, that go into Burbank, that go into John Wayne Airport, that go into Ontario. I'm very aware of those, yes.
Perhaps you can get back to me, or someone at your office can get back to me.
Sure. And I've got a little time. I can give you just a little help on that. So we have a bill. It's called the Aerospace Innovation Act, and it is talking about the 4 or 5 issues in aerospace that if we funded them, they would probably help us all, not just NASA, but us as mankind. And one of those issues is a new airliner where the engines are on top of the rear end of the tube of the aircraft, so you wouldn't hear it like you do today. It would go over, it would almost be like a murmur. It would be about 30% more economical. It would burn about 30% less fuel. These are the types of things we can work on, and they are part of my Innovation Act.
I think we're missing the boat. I've seen our sky where they're actually tic-tac-toes. I'm done with the question.
My name is Natalie Fortman. Congressman Knight, Planned Parenthood's Antelope Valley Health Center provided almost 13,000 patient visits last year, and 87% of those patients live at or below the federal poverty line. This health center offers primary care services in addition to reproductive health care, providing the community with much-needed resources for everything from physicals and cancer screenings to colds and coughs. Why do you continue to support the defunding of an organization that provides valuable resources to our community and perpetuate false attacks on what Planned Parenthood provides?
Well, I can tell you, that's good reading, too. I can tell you that I didn't. In fact, if you saw my bill, if you looked into what our bills were, you would have seen my bill that I co-authored that said we weren't going to take away the money. We're actually going to put it into a grant system. Because unlike Planned Parenthood, there is 11,000 other organizations that help with women's health. These are privately funded, 11,000 of them. We were going to take that money, and if you look at my bill, you can see that I co-authored, and we're going to put it into a grant system. I didn't say take it away from Planned Parenthood. They can apply for that grant system. They can apply for the $525 million that is given to Planned Parenthood by taxpayers every year, and we put it into a grant system. Now, I don't know why Planned Parenthood would be upset with that. We're talking about women's health, and we're not just adding one organization. We're adding 11,000 organizations that help women's health. I mean, I think that would be a great thing, and I think that this bill will probably move forward next year, and I expect Planned Parenthood should support it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, my name is Elaine Ballas, and I live in Canyon Country, and I want to know what you're going to do to help seniors on fixed income, and when, even though the CPI has been low, there's still a cost of living increase, and Social Security hasn't received anything.
Sure. So Social Security is a very big boy discussion, and it's being talked about every second in Congress of what we're going to do. So I'm working with a senior organization right now, or not right now, but this year, to try and give a bump to Social Security next year. That is our plan. It's going to be done with offsets, which means it won't increase our debt or our deficit, and we will get a bump to Social Security. Now, I think that is one of the things we can do, but the second thing is we've got to look at some of these issues that are being pushed, like $15 an hour for minimum wage. Those are going to directly impact people who are on fixed income. They're going to hit the service organizations, they're going to hit the small retail organizations, and the people who have fixed income are now going to be hit at something that is going to jump double when your Social Security hasn't been bumped up. So,
how much of a bump are you talking about?
Well, bumps in Social Security will never be very big. It's just like a bump in the military pay. This year, the military's pay was 1.6%. Congress jumped it up to 2.1%. And a lot of people said, that's way too much. You can't do that. Well, you can.
How much of an increase do the Congress people make?
Yeah, Congress hasn't. We didn't get any pay raise. We didn't vote for anything. I can't remember when Congress was given a pay raise. I won't vote for a pay raise for me. So, no. But yes, ma'am, I think that you are on the right path. Social Security needs a bump, but we have to do it with offsets. Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Brett Haddock. I'm a software engineer for eBay. I've been doing this for about 20 years now, believe it or not.
Oh, good.
So I'd like to consider myself a bit of an expert in the field. There's been a lot of talk in Congress recently about encryption and limitations on law enforcement activities, specifically back doors, front doors, that type of thing, things that are outright dangerous or impossible to do, to actually implement these things that are defeat the purpose of encryption. I haven't really seen you go either way on that. What are your thoughts on backdoor encryption?
I'm not going to speak on your level by any means, but I will tell you that I believe that the Internet should be open, and I do believe that law enforcement, they're in a difficult situation right now. I think that a lot of the country wants law enforcement to have some sort of free rein on information. I don't believe that. I don't at all. I co-authored a bill with a very, very liberal member, Mark Leno, in the California State Senate that had to do with police officers and what they could look at and what they couldn't look at. So we would arrest somebody and they would have an iPad, and we would look through that. Or, I'm sorry, they would have a phone, and we would look through that, but we would need some sort of a warrant and probable cause to go through their iPad. And so my bill said, your phone probably has more information than your iPad does. Mine does. My phone has way more information than my computer. So you need probable cause or a warrant to get into that phone. Now, I wrote in not a backdoor, but an issue that is exigent circumstances, which in police talk means if there's something in there and we know it's going to save somebody's life or it's going to advance this investigation like a kidnapping investigation, then we're going into that phone. But I think that encryption is a needed thing, especially in today's day and age. I said on armed services, and that is most of what we talk about, cyber attacks and how we defend ourselves from cyber attacks, and how I won't tell you the number because that's a classified number, but how many attacks we get on a daily basis, and it shocks you. So the better we are, the better we are.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sir.
Good evening, Congressman. My name is Michael Kulka. Apparently, all of us have decided not to be in Cleveland this week. I grew up 60 miles from there. I know better than to be there anyway.
I grew up in Ohio.
Okay.
You want to be in Southern California or Ohio?
My question is this. Have you had a chance to read the Republican platform for 2016?
I have not.
Do you know much about it yet?
I know a lot about the Republican platform, yes.
Okay. Are there any specific parts you agree with or disagree with that you would want to share this evening?
Well, many parts of the Republican platform I agree with. I'm a Republican. If I'm going to be a part of a party, I'm going to be understanding of what they do and probably accepting of everything. But not all of this platform. There's been an awful lot of talk, and like I said, I have not read the platform, so I'm going to talk on
It's long.
Some of the things that I've heard about. The Republican platform has done some things that I wouldn't agree with. Some of the things that talk about gay relationships. They have talked about that very openly. And I think that most states, especially here in California, that is kind of a done issue. We have marriage here for gay relationships. We have all of the accords of law for a gay couple and a non-gay couple. So I think that California has kind of moved through that. If you've seen in the DOD lately, we've allowed transgender to be in the military. So they've gone past that. The military or the Secretary of Defense has gone past that. So some of these things that are now law, some of these things that the state has accepted or the country has accepted, we've got to move. Again, I haven't read that. I get an awful lot of reading every day, and reading about the convention this week was not high on my list.
There's a lot of parts of this that reverse some of the things you just spoke about, reversing basically Roe versus Wade and women's issues. And this says, no, we're going to change all that with a constitutional amendment. And that's a consideration. Thank you.
I'm going to sneak another question in.
Okay.
I'm also with the Sierra Club National Wildlands and Wilderness Team. You and I have discussed some of these issues. This Congress has been unfriendly to land protections, including proposing to put national lands into state ownership, weakening or even dismantling the Wilderness Act, not fully supporting the Land and Water Conservation Fund, and bowing to some pressure, you actually dropped the Castaic Wilderness areas from your latest bills. Now, what will you do to fight this particular trend?
Well, I'll disagree with you right off the bat. I didn't bow to any pressure. We started off this bill with the St. Francis Memorial Dam, and that's what the community wanted. That's what the community has wanted for about 6 or 8 years. It hasn't moved forward. And I said from the very beginning, we are going to work on the St. Francis Memorial Dam, and the wilderness section that came in was a secondary thought to that. We were not going to get the votes. In fact, I was told to my face it was not going to get through the subcommittee. And so instead of just going there and trying to get something that we weren't going to get, I had to get the original idea, which was the St. Francis Memorial Dam and the 400 acres that are there in the washout area. That's going to protect some sacred sites. That's going to give us the memorial there that we should have had many, many years ago so people can come in. That's going to give the ability for us to have a visitor center there. All of those issues were great, and that's what the community wanted. So if I couldn't get the whole enchilada, I was definitely going to get a burrito out of this, and that was the very beginning, was the St. Francis Dam.
And the idea of land protection in general?
Yeah, well, I think that my record stands very clear. I'm very good on land protection, and I think that we should have the ability to have land that we can use for certain issues, whether it be off-roading, whether it be equestrian, or hiking, or walking, or just that kind of open space. I've been very clear that I think that these things should happen. And in California, it's been pretty good. We're not Nevada, where about 75% of that state is owned by the federal government. We're not Nevada. But we have an awful lot of space where we can perform and we can have our activities. And then we allow a lot of private ownership. So I think that we're doing pretty doggone good in California.
And the Land and Water Conservation Fund, which funds these things, do you support that?
Yeah, so I support a lot of that. I'm not going to go 100% there, but I do believe that that it does help, and we have worked with that pretty closely. I think that you've seen that. We haven't just discarded this issue, but this is one of the issues that I'm not going 100% in, but I understand how it's helpful and how we can use this, and I'll use it as well as we can.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, my name is Ed Dunn. I'm a 44-year resident of Canyon Country, and we've met before.
Yes, sir.
We even spoke briefly on this particular matter. I was wondering if you could team up with Congressman Adam Schiff and Brad Sherman on this forest fire problem that we have in this country, where homes burn, thousands of acres burn, and the aircraft that can put the fires out sits on the ground. And what comes to mind is the C-130s that are in San Bernardino and in the Forest Service. I was shocked to find the Forest Service owns them, has them sprinkled all throughout this country. If you didn't have enough of them sitting on the ground in San Bernardino, you could call them in from Denver or whatever. And they're the 8-bladed planes that can fly into these steep canyons.
And hurricanes.
And box canyons. They have 8 blades for that reason. And they can fly blind. They can fly at night. And our firefighters here shut down at night, and the wind picks up the fire. And so we lose watershed, we lose, we make pollution, lots of pollution, we lose beings and species, and then the muds come and destroy houses, those that haven't burned down. No houses should burn down. And I know that Brad Sherman, Adam Schiff rather, called a congressional meeting, federal meeting in Pasadena, and it's 4 or 5 years ago. They're concerned about it. And when I spoke to you briefly, you were aware of it, and it's kind of complex and big. Our C-130s cannot get off the ground unless the governor declares an emergency.
Right.
And that's too bad. And there are many private planes that could be put in the air, and they could put the fires out in the first 2 hours.
Well, we have talked about this. Obviously, the fires in California are always one of the major issues of the year. Sometime in May and through September, sometimes in October, we get these fires that go across our hills. And if you don't know, a fire goes 20 times faster uphill than it does downhill. That is why they get into the hills and they start moving very quickly. And it's very difficult for the fire department and CAL FIRE to knock these things down once they've got a head of steam. The firefighting in the air is extremely important to us, not just the C-130s, but the DC-10, even the 747 that is used occasionally. Very expensive, but very, very useful. I've seen that drop, and it drops, a Chuck E. Cheese full of junk onto the ground in just a second, and it's pretty amazing. I think that we should fly at night. in certain circumstances. The Supervisor Antonovich, has talked about that. I've said that why don't we look into that? We did look into that. In many circumstances, flying at night is an okay and safe thing to do. I'm not saying fly all night, and I'm not saying fly through the night, but in certain circumstances, in the dark, you can fly and you can drop. Especially today, and I'm going a little long, but I'll end this real quickly, especially today with the thermal imaging that we have and the UASs that we use, so the unmanned aerial systems that we use to fight the fires. Now, the last thing, and I think we talked about this when we talked too, we have an issue in Congress to stop anyone who wants to use their Amazon UAS in fires. We've had an awful lot. We had 3 incidents in California last year, and we will have more and more of these people flying into the fires, and then the air boss has to shut down operations because we don't want one of the firefighting airplanes getting a strike. So that is one of the first things. But I agree. When we have a fire, those airplanes are the quickest way to knock it down and create a line where CAL FIRE can go in there and address it.
Okay, so could we sum it up?
I can. Okay. What do I have, like 3 minutes?
You got it.
Well, thank you. Thank you for coming out. You know, it's very important to know the candidate. It's very important to know who your representative is. I do something to every group, and I even do it to the 5th and 6th graders that I talk to. It's interesting the texts I get from them, but fun. So I give out my phone number, and I will put it back there, but it is 450-7422, and it'll be back there, and it's filmed, or if you want to put it on your website, you can do that. I tell the newspapers they can run it every day. You can put it on KHTS. You can do whatever you want with it. I am your representative. You should be able to contact me. Now, if you contact me at midnight and I don't answer, I'll get you in the morning. But that is very important for your representatives to be part of your issues. So outside of that, we do have 3 offices. We have one here on Carl Boyer over by the Aquatic Center. We have one in Palmdale, and we have one in Simi Valley. We have some of my staff here tonight. Our top 3 issues are working on constituent services, making sure that casework is done in a fast and efficient manner. That could be Social Security, INS, IRS, passports, medals, Medicare, Social Security. Medals, I think we're up to 5 right now of World War II veterans that were awarded medals and never received them. And so we've gotten their medals for them. That's just, we do passports very quickly. We've done them in less than a day. Please don't call me in a day, but we do that. We do that. These are the issues that we try and get out as quickly as we possibly can as your representative. We also, if you've been a part of my teletown hall meetings, we've just done our 17th teletown hall where I call 30,000 people and I do just this, answer questions. You can ask me anything. We have a night vision. We have, which is a newsletter, comes out every 10 days. We try and put out as much information as possible. And I'll end with this. There was an article written in the LA Times. No shocker that the LA Times doesn't like me very well, but they wrote an article this last week that said I had spent more money on reaching out to constituents than anyone else in California. You should applaud me for that. You should. I am not trying to hide something from you. I'm telling you, I would love your opinion. We ask surveys. We say, is this important? Is this not important? We do the teletown halls. We do as much as we possibly can. So when they wrote that story, I said, holy cow, you normally write stories that hate me, but this sounds like you like me. They didn't. They didn't like me. But so we're trying to put out as much information. In the future, I will do the exact same thing as a candidate. I will be as open as I possibly can. I go to everything I possibly can. If anyone wants to shadow me for a day, come to my house about 6:30 in the morning, and you'll leave my house at about 9:30 that night. So if you want to do that, come on. So that's what we do, and I'm very proud of what we've done over the last year and a half. Thank you, Alan. Thanks for the time.